this video, we'll be learning how to do string art. For our first set of art, we're going to start with our easier shape, which is a heart. We'll need to start with your heart template, your push pin, and you might want to have a pencil. So you want to do an outline of holes around the edge of your heart, not too close to the edge, but not too far away, and try to keep them evenly spaced from each other and from the edge of this outline. So that's what you might need the pencil for. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that's kind of spaced evenly away from the heart. It doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of as a guide for you. So go ahead and draw a line if you'd like to, and then we'll get started. So take your push pin and poke holes along the outline that you just created with your pencil, or if you're freehanding it, go ahead and start poking holes. I'm going to try to do it about 1/2 inch apart. You can do it further apart if you want to, or closer together. You want to give them a little bit of space because we are going to expand these holes, but not too much space that your heart looks super threadbare when you're done threading all your string through it. So just go ahead and punch out holes all the way along the outline. Once you've finished punching all the holes out with your push pin, you want to grab your pencil again and make sure it's kind of sharp. You're going to go around and widen your holes a little bit with your pencil so that your yarn will fit through each of your holes. So poke your pencil in and kind of stretch out each of the holes. Just like this. Alright, and then you just continue around until you've stretched out each of the holes that you pushed through with your push pin. Once you're finished poking out the holes around your heart, it should look like this, kind of. For our next step, you're going to need a few more materials. You're going to need your larger size ball of yarn and a few pieces of tape and your yarn needle. That's really just a bent paper clip, but we're going to call it a yarn needle. So to get started, unroll your larger ball of yarn a little bit, fold it in half, and thread it into the loop at the end of your bent paper clip. So you have a little bit of thread on one side and then your longer piece of thread over here. And we're going to go ahead and start. So you'll want to push through the back side of your heart, the part that has the pencil markings on it if you used pencil, and then just pull your yarn through, and then flip your heart over and thread it through the next hole if you want to, or a hole across the heart from it, like this if you'd like to. I'm going to thread it across like this, and then we want to pull it through. And then the next hole that you'll thread into, you can flip it over, is directly next to the hole that you started with. You can thread it through there. You can also pick a different hole if you want to. And then what I'm going to do to make the pattern I'm making is thread through this hole here. You can just thread back and forth through whichever holes you want, and it will make a different pattern than what I have. Just make sure that you've threaded through every hole that we punched out. So then from here, I'm going to go to the next hole here and thread my yarn through. And we'll want to pull our yarn loose a little bit from the ball and thread it through again. Pull it nice and tight. You'll have to do this a couple of times to keep up with your yarn. I'm going to thread through the next hole, which is this one here. Might need to pinch your sewing needle to get it to go through. Pull your yarn all the way through, and then flip it over and go through this one again. Pull it through. So, just back and forth through whichever holes you want to. Just make sure that you fill through all of them. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll fast forward a little bit until the pattern is done, and I'll show you how to finish it. Okay, once you have threaded all of your yarn through each of the holes that you've poked out, on the side that you've put your pencil markings is where your two ends of yarn should be. You will need to grab a piece of tape and a pair of scissors. Go ahead and trim off the extra yarn you have and tape down both ends so your heart does not come unthreaded. Like so. And then your string art heart is ready for display. All right, once you finish your string art heart, we're going to try making a star. So you'll go ahead and grab your star template, set your heart aside, grab your star template, grab your star template, your push pin, and a pencil again for widening the holes. With your star, it's super important that the holes you push out are equal on each side of the star. Otherwise, it won't come out looking quite like a star when you're done. So you'll want to poke a hole at the point of each star, like so. And you'll also want to poke a hole in the corners of each of the points, like so. And then it's up to you how many holes you put in between each point and corner. I'm gonna go ahead and just do 2, but you can increase it to 3 if you want to. 1 is maybe not enough holes, but you could go up to 3 holes in between the point and the corner, or 4. It's just up to you what you want to do. So I'm going to try to split this into 3 parts here, and then same on this one. Split this into 3 parts here. Oh, and I think I missed this corner. Make sure each of the corners have a hole punched in them, and each of the tips. So 2 holes here, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Last point of the star. There you go. So, once all of your holes around your star are punched out with the push pin, go ahead and grab your pencil again. Take it and widen each of your holes here. Just enough so you can fit the yarn through. They don't have to be super large holes, just enough. All right, and continue around like that until you're done. Once you've finished expanding all of the holes that you punched out around your star, we're going to move on to the next step. You're going to need to grab your smaller ball of yarn, your yarn needle, hopefully you hung on to it from the heart step, and you'll need to hang on to your tape and your pair of scissors, although we won't need the tape or scissors until we're completely done with the star. This one's a little more difficult than the heart. You have to make sure that you follow this pattern exactly, or it won't really look like a star when you're done. So go ahead and unroll your yarn for your star. So that you have it all stretched out. And then take your yarn needle and one end of your thread, go ahead and fold that end in half like this to make a loop, and hook your sewing needle through the yarn like this. Then for our next step, you want to pick one point and the corner directly opposite that point to start your pattern. So we're going to go through, on mine, this point here, and thread your yarn all the way through. Just keep pulling all the way through until you reach the end, and take a piece of tape and tape that end down so it doesn't pull through. Then, remember I said directly across from the point, flip your star over, find that hole again, and thread your yarn directly through that hole. And you'll have to pull your yarn quite a bit because it is pretty long, but as you get further along with your star, the less yarn you'll have to continue pulling through. So pull it nice and tight. Then you'll want to pick, you can either go to the left or to the right, but you want to continue going that direction for the rest of the star. So when you flip it over, I'm going to pick this direction. Do the hole exactly next to the hole where you started and pull your yarn through, all your yarn. And then, since you picked it to this side, you want to pick the hole from the corner exactly the other direction. So this hole in the way I'm doing it. Go ahead and send your needle through and pull all your yarn through. Okay. Then continue down this side of the star where you started. Send your yarn through there. And continue going the opposite direction here on this side. Make sure your yarn doesn't get tangled. Okay, so one one way to make this easier with pulling the yarn through is, instead of pulling it all through after you only go through one hole, go through this hole and then find the hole on the other side, go through there, and pull the yarn through 2 holes at once. Makes it go a little bit faster. So you can do that step a number of times. So find this hole, pull it through just a little bit, flip it over, and through this one, and then pull the entire length of your yarn through. So just continue in that pattern until you reach the end. We're gonna go through this pretty quickly now. So do this one. And you can see, now that we've made it through this many, that this point that you're threading through, when you go on to the next hole, it will be the corner of the exact opposite side, because you have an even number of holes on each arm of your star. So let's skip ahead to the part where you've finished threading all of these, and I'll show you one additional step that you can do if you would like to. So once you've finished threading all the way through your star, it will look like this on the back. Go ahead and trim your extra thread and tape it down. One final step you can take if you would like to is, you can frame your star. So instead of leaving it like this, you can go ahead and take your yarn and thread it up and down through each of these holes, just sequentially around the edge of the star until you have framed it entirely all the way around. So you would go ahead and take your yarn needle, you could start in the same place you did before. Pull your yarn all the way through till there's just a little bit left. You can take that piece down as well. And then you'll just thread your needle directly into this next hole and pull the yarn through. So once you've made it through one round around your star, it kind of starts to look a little bit like a snowflake. But if you continue doing that same pattern, a second round around, it will look like a star with this fun design in the middle and a nice border around it. Of course, you don't have to do this step. You can leave it looking like a snowflake, or you can continue on to the end. It's up to you. Either way, once you're done, you're going to go ahead and trim your last piece of yarn off, put a piece of tape over it, and then you will be finished with your star string art. I hope you had fun doing all the string art today, and see you next time. Bye!